Hi everybody, it's me again, Gaetano from Jeval, Technical Education Team. So today, the session we are going to discuss is a part of the color chart, I guess, that is rarely used or sometimes misunderstood. So I want to bring to light the reinforcers. And so the Jeval Reinforcers, so for those that are new to Jeval, and you'd know them as concentrates. In the Jeval world, they're called reinforcers. So they're your pure pigment intensifiers, and I want to give you some more information on how best to work with these pigments. So we range from O1 being ash, O2 violet, O3 is your yellow and gold, and O4 is your copper, which is orange, O5 is your red, and O9 being your blue. So yes, they're great to brighten up pigments and so forth, but it's not the only thing you can do with them. And you need to understand also how much to use of the reinforcers in a color. If you use too much, it can actually deepen a color, and then you'll start to drop levels in your color. So today I want to show you a very simple way on how to work with these particular reinforcers, and I'm going to show you a very simple way on how much you can actually use on a particular level, and then I will also show you another way of how you can enhance different reflex, especially on colors that are already pre-mixed. So to start off with, yes, they are an activated pigment already, and today we are actually going to be creating on pre-lightened hair level 10. So I want to use these colors as a fun color and an alternate type of color, and enjoy some interesting color reflex. What's inspiring the color work today is actually the escalation of the underlying pigments, ranging from level 1 blue to level 10 pale yellow, and that's exactly what we are going to create with this reinforcing reflex today. So how much can we use? In simple terms, you can use up to 1/4 of your formula on any given reflex. So for example, if you've got 25 grams, 20 grams of color, you can use 5 grams of reinforcer. But it all depends on what color you have and what level you have, whether that 5 grams is going to be too much, or is it going to deepen the color, or is it actually going to brighten the color? So if I had, for example, a level 5.6, which is a red, and I want to brighten the red, if I had, say, 30 grams of color, and I mixed 5 grams of O6 reinforcer, there's a good possibility that I'm going to deepen that color. I'm going to weigh it down. So if I'm after some form of lift with that color, then I may not be able to achieve it because I've weighed the pigment down too heavy. If I want to just brighten that pigment, 2-3 grams max, and it's going to do a great job. But how else can we think around how much to use? So I want to show you this very simple way of how to remember what you can actually use on whatever level you're working on. Now, imagine your level 1 to 10. Simply flip that over, put it beside your 1 to 10. In a level 10, you can add up to 1 gram of reflect and reinforcer. In a level 2, for example, you can, in a level 9, you can go 2 grams and so forth till you get down to level 1, and there you can add up to 10 grams. Now, if you look at the reflex that we're working on here, Level 10 is going to be very yellow. So to enhance a level 10, if you wanted to add some extra warmth to your tent, 1 gram of yellow will do that for you. If you wanted to spice your level 10 with any other reflect, which is creatively possible, you can add 1 gram of any of the reinforcers that you like. In a level 5, you'll sit exactly even, 5 grams. And as we discussed, you don't need to always use that 5 grams because it may actually deepen the color too much for you. But in a level 1, normally is where you want to create your blue blacks. So if you are wanting to create a blue black, but you've managed to run out, then it's very simple to create. You simply grab your 1.0 and add up to 9 grams of 09, depending how deep and strong you want your blue reflect. So I hope this simplifies how to add reflex on each and particular level. Always remember, level 1 to 10, turn it around, 10, 1 to 10. Okay, say that again, 1 to 10, natural levels, turn it around and sit it beside your level 1 to 10. So in a level 10, 1, in a level 1, up to 10 grams. Okay, so that is one way of remembering how much you can use, should you want to use the full amount on that particular level. So another way that you can work with the reinforcers is the power of 8. So let's just say, for example, we have a color like 6.62. I want to enhance both the 0.6 and I also want to enhance the violet. So if I want to intensify the red, I can add up to 2 grams of 06 because 6 and 2 makes 8. If I want to enhance the 0.2 and make the 662 look more violet, then I can add up to 6 grams of violet and deepen the violet of the 662 a lot stronger. If I want to enhance both, then I'll see which one I want to enhance. And if I use the full amount of 2 to make my 6 up to an 8, then I will only add 4 or 6 grams of violet into the 2 area. So when you're working with the power of 8s, always good to work, even if you're just working with normal, okay, always good to work around 30 to 40 grams of color before you start adding. If I'm only using, say, 2 grams of color, and then I'm gonna add 5 grams of reinforcer, then obviously that pure pigment is going to be the true nature of your reflect. So when would I use the reinforcers? 01, fantastic to add to your ash, your intense ash series, even your naturals, when you're working from a darker level and you want to lighten 1 to 3, 4 levels per se and want to reduce warmth. That's a blue-green, so it's going to help to counteract your red and orange. I tend to use the 01, for example, whenever I'm coloring levels 3 to 5. If I want to go to a level 6, then I'll start using the 09. But up to a level 5, I will lean towards the 01 because of the green is going to help counteract the red, and then the blue is going to start counteracting the orange coming through. And your 02 is fantastic, obviously, to enhance violets. It is also great to use in your 0.22s or 0.20s or anything that you want to influence the color with violet. And I tend to lean towards the 02 more when I'm toning a violet over blonde. If I'm lifting with a violet, say for 622 over a level 5 or a level 6, then I would add 1 or 2 grams of the 09 to help counteract the orange, allowing my violet to remain cool. So I use the 02 when I'm colouring back from a blonde into a violet, and I use the 09 to keep a violet cool when I'm lifting and want to counteract the underlying pigment in the invisible area of the hair. 03. One of the least colours people use, for the simple reason is don't want gold. You know, it has a lot more use than just creating gold. If you have a copper, for example, and the client wants that copper to be a little bit brighter, there's no better way than to open that copper reflect up with a hint of yellow. Exactly. So if I have a 7-4, I've run out of 7-4-3, or I don't want a true 7-4-3, but I just want to open that 7-4 a little bit, then I'll just add a hint of my 03 into the 7-4, and that'll pop it open. So in about 40 grams, I might add 1 gram. Yeah, so it's very simple. Excuse me, obviously I would keep away from the 03 if I'm doing any lifting from virgin hair on the roots. There's going to be enough warmth coming through, and so we don't need to be adding extra gold, and we want to be counteracting the gold in that sense. But whenever I'm wanting to enhance a reflect, then that's when I'm going to work with my 03. 03s are great as well if I'm doing, for example, ash foils over blonde hair, and I'm concerned that they're going to maybe end up too flat or khaki, then a little scrape of 03 on the side of the bowl, if you don't have any 0.3s on your shelf in that moment, is going to save your day. So it is an important colour also. It will help to warm up anything that you don't want too cool. 04 is a great intensifier for coppers, and it will also help open up a red. If you don't want it so red, you want a bit of hint of copper in there, then you can always add a bit of 04 into your red to create a red copper. 03 and 04 make very good colours. If you don't have any golds or coppers, for example, and you want to fill, then, you know, mixing the 03, 1 to 2 with water is going to help you create a filler. And if you are going from very, very porous level 10 to dropping back down to around the level 5 or a level 6, a gram of yellow and a gram of orange, or say half a gram and 2 grams, is going to help create a nice foundation as a filler. Okay, we'll just edit that one out. 06, fantastic to enhance reds, brighten up reds, make them more fiery, and again, it can further warm up or create more coppers when you add your yellow to your red. And then obviously your blue is going to be a great enhancer to your 190, 1.0, anywhere up to a level 5. And 09 is a great reflect to add. And yeah, it's going to be a great counteracting pigment to add into your high lifts and your ashes and your naturals when you're lifting. Let's keep in mind all the colours that we use are a blend of blue, red and yellow, which are your primary colours, right? So for a true tone to occur, you must have these 3 colours present. And okay, so another simple guide to work with not adding too much. If you calculate 1 gram of reinforcer when you're wanting to brighten or enhance a reflect to every 10 grams of fashion reflect, then you're sitting on a very, very good level of colouring. But today, as promised, we're going to have some creative fun with these colours, And so we're going to be working with 10 different formulas. I've already gotten Madonna prepared here. So as you can see, we've pre-lightened Madonna to a level 10. So what we've done here, we've mixed 1 to 2 Decoplex with 30 volume. And creating these colours today, I'm going to be working from nape upwards, from blue to pale yellow. So we're going to create, and I will write all these formulas down and have place cards so you can revisit this. But underneath, we'll be working with 0.9 and 1.99. So 10 grams of your 0.9, 1 gram of 1.99. Everything is going to be mixed 1 to 2 with semi-developer. That's 1 to 2 semi-developer. And the blue-violet will be 7 grams of 0.2, 3 grams of 0.9, and then I'm going to add 1 gram of 629 because 629 is your true, blue-violet or violet-blue color that we have in the Jeval chart. As we move up, we want violet. So the blue-violet comes out of the blue, then we end up on a level 3 violet. And so there we're going to be working with 10 grams of O2 and 2 grams of 422. And as we progress, we want to get into red-violet. So red-violet will be 7 grams of 6, 3 grams of O6, and 1 to 2 grams of the 4.56. As we move out of the red-violet, we move into the red, which is your level 5 underlying pigment, and there we'll be using 10 grams of 6 with 2 grams of 5,6. Red starts to open up to red-orange, so 8 grams of 4, 2 grams of 6, and 1 gram of 664 to create our red-orange. Once the red has completely been lifted out, we end up in orange, so 10 grams of 04 with 2 grams of 74 to create our nice solid orange area, which is a true level 7. And then as the orange begins to lighten out, we end up in an orange-yellow zone, which is going to be 9 grams of 03, 1 gram of 04, with 2 grams of 843. And then obviously once that orange has completely been removed and we end up on a level 9 yellow, that will be 10 grams of 03 and 2 grams of 9.3. And then the color I have left over there, I'll put back on the scales. I'll add some clear plus, top it up with 10 volt, and just fade out those ends into a level 10 pale yellow. Okay, so we'll start mixing up and we'll section up the mannequin and then we'll start creating these colors. Awesome. So we're going to start off with the blue, which is your underlying pigment of level 1. And we're going to do the roots and a little halfway. So all the sections have been zigzagged through. And the fun of this is knowing that if you have a walk-in, for example, and they're wanting a little bit of fun color, and you haven't stocked up on any of your direct dyes also, and you need to create something in an instant, you know that with these colors and a mix of your traditional color, you're going to get a nice result. As long as you know what you're mixing and why you're mixing is all that matters. Your lift always, blues, reds, oranges, as long as you surpass a level 7, and you're going to be okay. For brighter reflex, then lift to a level 9, a level 10. Same as you would if you were working with a direct dye. So anything that you want brighter, just lift lighter. Okay, same rules apply. So we'll get the blue there, and then we'll get the blue violet and blend that in its two ends. Now remember, anything you're doing with violets, if there's a lot of yellow in the hair, then that violet is first going to behave as a toner before it leaves any reflect. So if you are working with intense violets on pre-lightened hair with traditional tint, and it's only going to be violets, you may want to tone the yellow out of the hair first and then apply your violet. You can see that blue deepening already, which is great. Very important when you're working with these kind of colors, you really pack the pigment on. Yeah, so don't just color a little bit like that. You really need to saturate the hair and get that pigment into the hair. Now, how you want to blend and how you want to create is all to do with your own creativity. There's no set rules there. Are these ever going to be as bright as your direct dyes? No. But if they're going to get you out of trouble for that moment, it's good to know that you can work with them to create something. than your roots. Just remember though, it is clear plus. So after you add your clear plus, your developer is 1 to 1.5, no longer 1 to 2. So at the very end, we've gone to 1 to 1.5 due to adding clear plus on the ends. So just quickly mix that in. So I've added about 10 grams of clear plus and 15 grams of 20. %. Now keep in mind, don't blend too high up because then you'll start lightening the color that's already there. So if you want that depth, keep it there and just color beneath it with the clear plus. And there we have the application. So we'll let that process 25 minutes. We'll remove it and then we'll style her up. So I've just pretty much dried it off with the square brushes, and I applied Abracadabra first, and then I applied HPF 230 plus so I can protect the hair and colour from the iron. So as I go through and just quickly run the irons through the hair just to soften it down a bit, I will recap what we've done. So we pre-lightened first with Decoplex and 30, and on the roots we did the Deco Cream Lightener, ammonia free, and 1 to 1.5 with 10 volt. And as it was already a level 8, we just wanted to clean her up a little bit on the roots. And then we discussed different ways of how to remember and use the Jeval Reinforcers. So as you can see, you know, we're going through the violets and the red violets now coming through the ends, the blues at the roots. But here's the biggest tip of all I'm going to give you today. One of the biggest complaints I hear from hairdressers, and this is not a Jeval thing, this is just colorists in general, how you can never achieve a really true blue-black. So the trick is, believe it or not, the trick is in our reinforcers. And that's what I want to share with you as I straighten this off. Leaving the best for last, as always. So a client comes in, blue-black, faded, and it's looking violet, almost red. Blue, blue-violet, violet, red-violet, red, right? So that's how the pigments are removed from the hair and also how colour emerges. So, we can over the wire here, but that's okay. So let's just say that the hair is throwing a red reflect. Obviously, if you put a blue-black with semi-developer, because you just want to do a demi, right, being a dark colour, straight over the hair, you are not going to achieve a blue-black. You will get a violet-black. So instead of like a 199 or a 190, you're going to have more a 1.22, so to speak, right? So even though we don't have it in the chart, and a black violet is easily achieved. And you just simply, it actually sits better on a 2 level. So, you know, 2, add your O2, and you've got a lovely violet overtone on something that's looking very dark, almost black. But in the case of a blue-blue-black, when the hair is throwing red, there is no point putting the blue-black straight over the top, because as I just mentioned, it turns violet, right? And blue and red obviously makes violet. So this is why you're not achieving that rich blue reflect. The client sees the swatch on the chart, sees the end result, and says, I wanted blue, not violet, you know? So here's my tip. Before you start coloring, if you see a red overtone in the faded black or blue-black that was previously done, go to the basin and do a light shampoo, no scrubbing, with clean slate. Clarifying shampoo, just to remove any impurities from the hair. Next, towel dry well, do not condition. Okay? Next, you're gonna grab 2 parts yellow, 1 part blue. The blue is very strong. This is why we're going 2 parts yellow. You're gonna make a green, because blue and yellow make green. So mix that 1 to 2 with water. And while you're at the basin on towel dried hair, run that green through the hair. So I call it a green wash, right? And it's 1 to 2 with water. We're not oxidizing the pigment whatsoever. We just basically want to counteract the red reflect. So green removes red. Leave it on for 15 minutes. Rinse well. Do not shampoo. Do not condition. Towel dry, take your client back to the station. Blast the hair dry. Now you're ready for colouring. But before you start colouring, don't leave the hair hot. Grab your cold button on the dryer and cool the hair off. So never colour when the hair is extremely hot after heating, because that could create a much darker colour and as a result. And if you don't want to be dark, then that would be a problem. So what will happen when you start drying, you will actually see a green haze over the hair. Don't panic, it's exactly what you want. That means that green wash has counteracted all the red in the hair and left you with a cool undertone. And if you look on your colour wheel in your colour chart, blue sits right next to where? Your green, okay? So now you're ready to colour. On the roots, you don't want much lift. So I would keep, especially if you've got dark hair already, and more than likely, you know, even if they're light haired, 199, 190, I like to mix them together. If you want to add extra blue, you can. Maybe, you know, 2 to 3 grams, you don't need much more. 1 to 1 with semi on the regrowth, because you don't want to lift or expose underlying pigment, which will affect your blue reflect. So once you've done your roots, remix for the ends. Now this is where it gets a bit tricky for you maybe to grasp. I like to do the ends with either 10 volt or 20 volt. Reason being is I want to blow my pigment. See, blue is the largest molecular structure in the pigment, as a pigment, right? So it's very difficult to get into the hair, but easy to wash out of the hair, right? This is why blues don't last long. When we mix a level 1 with a higher developer, you tend to blow the pigment out. So you're blasting that pigment. and it breaks it down. And that's exactly what we want to do with the blue. If we can break it down a little bit, then we can get it into the hair a lot better, and you're going to see more of a reflex. So 1 to 1.5 with 10 or 20 volt is normally where I go, and on the ends, always depending the health of the hair. If I find the hair is a slightly more resistant, then I will choose 20 volt. If the hair is slightly more porous, I will drop down to 10 volt. You can see where all those zigzagging young weaves are coming through the hair. It's just blending really nice. Gorgeous. So you process that for 25 to 30 minutes and get to the basin to rinse off. Now, when I'm at the basin, one, I do not use warm water, right? Warm water to the cool is where I want to be. But the first thing I'm going to do before I completely rinse off is just sprinkle water all over the color a little bit. So I don't want to saturate the hair with water, but I just want to wet it down slightly, emulsify it, and do wear gloves because you'll end up with blue hands for, you know, the next month or something. And so emulsify the hair and just let it sit for about 10 minutes. And this will help to start bringing the pH balance of the hair down, especially midst to ends where you've colored with 10 or 20 volt. That whole emulsifying trick, I do this all the time as well when I'm creating rich reflex such as your coppers and your reds and so forth. Rather than rinsing off straight away, just allow that cooling down process and the pH to drop. Right? So longevity in the salon is all about how low you can bring that pH balance back down to after a color. Okay, if you leave the pH high, the client goes home, washes their hair, especially if it's not with the good stuff, like the Jeval stuff, and boom, the color just washes out, okay? The pH stays high, the cuticle stays open, color's gonna wash out. So if we manage to drop that pH level down, right, and we do that by leaving the conditioner or treatment on the hair, you know, that little bit longer after a color, it does the hair good because obviously with the heat of the iron, that pH can lift again. This is why it's important to use a heat protector to keep the hair nice and stable. So I hope you like that tip, and I also hope that you have a better understanding of how you can be creative with the reinforcers and maybe broken away from a myth that, you know, you can't do anything but brighten or whatever a color with those, okay? And no, as you can see today, you can have lots of fun and creating with these. So if you've run out of a specific direct dye, like a red or a violet or something, you can create them by mixing, you know, your reflex with your reinforcers and have a fantastic result. So I'm just going to finish this off now, and then we'll see the final color. What a gorgeous blonde. Who would have thought? Mainly 03 with a hint of 9-3 on pre-light and level 10. The ends, the same formula up on top with some clear plus on the ends to dilute what was left in the bowl, and an extra 15 grams because I put 10 grams of clear plus, an extra 15 grams of 20 vol, and that's just paled out those ends quite softly. So stronger at the roots and slightly softer at the ends. So let's have a look at the progression. You've got your blue and blue-violet at the ends. Then you go into your violets. And red-violet at the ends. Your red and red-orange. Red and red-orange, leading up to your orange, orange-yellow at the tips, to your yellow and pale yellow at the top, being your level 1 underlying pigment, to your pale yellow, which is your level 10. Well, I seriously do hope you get a lot out of this, but what I want for you more is to really start getting creative and using the reinforcers a lot more than you most probably ever thought you could use them for in the past. So do have fun with them. And, you know, if you want more intense reds, then add more, you know, red reflect, maybe 662 or 762. So you can mix whatever, you know, colors that you like. Also, if you want to ever have a mild lift and deposit, for example, on a level 5 artificial or 6, where you don't have a lot of under color buildup, you can, for example, get your clear plus equal parts with your red pigment. I always like to add some 662, 40 volt if there's no history of pre-lightning, and that will work as a very soft lift and deposit system for you. I find it works best with the red, coppers, and you'll get away with the violets on level 6 upwards. But I wouldn't do that under a level 5 artificial. Okay. So that is reinforced. And as always, I like to say, there we go. You can see more of the colors down there. That blue is absolutely stunning. It's Sapphire Deluxe. Oh, I wish it was my hair. Okay, so that's the Madonna mannequin who started out as a level 7, is now multicolored, expressing the underlying pigments of hair from level 1 to level 10. And we will be back next week with Winter Blues. So thank you for watching Reinforced, and as always, be fabulous, be great, be creative. Cheers.